Yeah, big stretches.
Uh, Man, I need it. I'm sore. Everything about my body is sore today. So
So that's a great way to start off the day, right?
yeah, just sore.
8 o'clock Tuesday morning, sore as hell. Got
Yeah,
got the coffee, trying to wake up.
trying to wake up.
I mean,
I barely put clothes on. I'm pretty sure the shirt is. I think the shirt's dirty.
yeah. Oh, this one again.
It's ripe.
But hey, it's springtime, folks. I mean,
Yeah,
we know it because our green screen backgrounds say so.
we know it because all those crane flies keep hanging out in my door. And I gotta tell Texas and the rest of the people that come down here. When you see those flies, those are not mayflies. Mayflies are very different than crane flies. Everybody calls these crane flies mosquito eaters. They actually don't eat mosquitoes at all. But they are amazing for other species and they are actually harmless. They're just dumb and they float around. But
Yeah.
at least they're not June bugs. So just yeah, you can literally sweep them off the porch, but they're not mayflies. So just that's a sure between cranes and tornadoes. That's how you know Texas is ready for spring.
How did you learn so much about flies?
You like that?
Yeah.
Some knowledge.
I
I'm
mean,
like,
yeah, you really dig when you go to the library. You really dig into those back sections, don't you?
man, I got some research that nobody cares about,
Right. Go ahead. Ask me a trivia question. Go ahead.
man.
so,
Yeah.
so some bizarre thing. I know. What are you preparing for Jeopardy or something?
All right, all right. I mean, look, I mean, it's interesting. You see them every year, and you hear everybody talk about, oh, look at those mayflies. I'm like, dude, I'm from Michigan. Those aren't mayflies, man. Get out of here. Also, it's not May yet, and and then they're like, oh, those are mosquito eaters. I'm like, oh, they look like mosquitoes. That makes sense. So they probably like go in looking like mosquitoes and then trick them and kill them.
Right.
And then I'm like, man, I haven't seen them eat a mosquito in 12 years. What's going on? And so finally I was like, what the heck? And I did my research and that's what they are. So
The ones I remember growing up were horse flies.
well, those things suck.
And yeah, I mean they are big. They make a lot of noise, and if you
They
get one in
bite.
your house until you catch it, it'll drive you crazy because they lie dormant all day. They wait until you fall asleep, and then they start to fly around and make noise.
Yeah, and they bite.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
And do not leave crumbs left on a plate anywhere.
no, they're the size of bumblebees, man.
Right.
Like I had one in my house the other day. It was in the window. I thought it was a bee because it was like bouncing
Yeah.
against, and I was like, oh man, I got a bee in here already. And it was a stupid horsefly. I killed it. He didn't make it out, but um, yeah, the bugs are out. I haven't seen a lot, knock on wood. I haven't seen a lot of wasps yet. I've done some perimeter checks because Luke and I are well pretty close to finishing our seating area, our patio area.
Yeah.
And we're outside quite a bit, with doing stuff. I haven't seen any. We'll see what happens.
Well, you got siding on your house, don't you?
Yeah, they love that.
Yeah, yeah, and the wasps like to get in between the siding and everything. So
Uh,
you got to kind of watch in there. And
I
even if you
probably
got
I probably got a nest from like 20 years ago stuck in between something. It's an
yeah,
old house. There's some corners of the house I'm like, we'll just leave that alone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those old nests, those they generally don't go back to an old
No,
nest.
no.
They like to build a new one. But even if you got a brick house, you got to look because sometimes if the mortar has given away in between a couple of bricks, they like to go in there too.
Yeah.
So, and then of course that means you got to run down to the hardware store or something and buy us, all kinds of sprays, which
Yeah.
are toxic in themselves.
I
And
have a lot. I have a lot of toxic sprays, but I also we've talked about this before. I've done some environmentally semi-friendly sprays that actually work really well. And I tell you what, so we've got a lot of mint around us. now because we planted some mint,
Yep.
and that I will say this: the mint spray absolutely works. Now it's not going to stop them from if they're pissed off and want to get you, but I've seen them go to land at times and and then they're like, nah, and they take off. So, look, there's things you can do. It's usually the first month that everybody's excited and they come out for winter, all the bugs and creatures, and then it kind of balances out.
Well, I found that another thing you can do to prevent pests in your yard is throw food over the fence into your neighbor's yard.
True. It
You know,
works.
yeah, they'll follow the food.
Well, I have these stupid, I've got raccoons and that like to hang out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they peep inside my window when I'm watching TV. I'm not even lying about that.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What kind of movies are you watching?
I don't know, man. I'm like, dude, all of a sudden, like, I'll hear something on the window, and I'm like, and I hear this little like scratch, and I'm like,
Yeah,
but it's also close to a bush, so I'm like, eh. And then I'm like, what the heck? And I kind of look, and I see this little shape, and I'm like,
yeah,
and then I pull the blinds up, and this raccoon's like this, just staring,
yeah.
and I'm like,
Hey, hey,
what's up, buddy?
what about me? What about me?
I know. Like Luke ran right up to the window and looked at it. He's like, "Look, Dad." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are we gonna do?" I'm like, "Nothing. I'm not opening the window, and I'm gonna let him sit there. He can watch this movie with us. You know."
Luke's not putting a plate of anything out on the front porch for him, is he?
We don't have to. These raccoons are digging up my flowers, man. Like when I planted the sunflower seeds. Bad idea.
Hey, I just saw something online that says one thing you can put in your garden. Can't figure out exactly why. They say to take a bar of Irish Spring soap and cut it up into little pieces and just sprinkle that around in your garden. That there's something in Irish Spring soap, whether it's the scent or whatever, that kind of deters animals and some bugs.
Oh, I was thinking you were going to tell me it was going to make my sunflowers grow faster, but
Well, it'll make them cleaner anyway.
yeah, that's weird. That's probably not safe for the environment, but sure. Yeah.
Sometimes just Google, home remedies for stuff, and there's all kinds of stuff where they tell you can put peanut butter on this to do this,
Yeah.
and all kinds of that. Instead of going out and spending hundreds of dollars on all these fancy stuff, sometimes because look, what did they do 100 years ago before they had all these products? They used to do stuff to get rid of critters and pests too. But
It is funny though that all the things we do in spring, and I mean, you have to, especially if you own a home. There's a lot of stuff you got to do, and it just takes time. But yeah, spring's a good time. Unfortunately, in Texas, our spring is very short-lived.
right, right. But you gotta prepare it. Like getting the grass ready, putting
Ugh,
fertilizer on the grass, or what because once you get to that June, July, August when it gets so hot, you hope that the roots have dug deep enough into the grass it'll keep it alive in that blistering heat. And
yeah, I mean, you've got to. Yeah, this lawn that I'm at, it wasn't really taken care of. The back was much better than the front, so I've done some fertilizer and weed kill, and but my lawn has already been mowed like 3 times already.
yeah, we just had ours mowed for the first time and all. But
Well,
it's
we've
surprising how quickly the green is coming up from the dead of winter.
well, and we've got some rain over the last couple of weeks too. That really, you know, helped it out quite a bit. We actually over the last month or two have had some decent amount of rain,
Yeah.
so that's going to help, and it needs it because come June, July, who knows when it's going to rain again.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's also when you start turning the sprinkler on more often and the water bill starts going up.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not into that, but yeah, there's good things. Spring is cool. I mean, we just had opening day recently. I didn't pay attention to scores. I'm sure the Tigers, lost, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
They'll come back, right?
Hey, it's Mickey's last year. It's Mickey's last year, so I'm a little sad about that, but I get it. But we've got opening day, then you start thinking about the fun stuff to do in the spring, like in the evenings. Like the evenings are nice to kind of hang outside and
Yeah.
put the music on and get some spring cocktails for a lot of wine drinkers out there. This is the time of year that you start looking at some whites. You start looking at some Sauvignon Blancs and things like that. So beer. I mean, there's some good spring beers coming out. My personal favorite, Oberon, is out. That's how you know it's.
Oberon. Yeah.
Yes, Oberon is out. Yeah, yeah.
I
So it's a good time.
and mine, I don't know why, but every spring, summer, I look forward to my summer shanty.
That's out right now.
Yeah. Love that. Some of the Leinenkugels and I mean, well, you're the aficionado in that, but is it true that there are people that will drink more red wine in the winter and then they
Yes.
move to white wine in the spring and summer?
It's a psychological thing. I mean, there's still a lot of red wine, but definitely, like when you think about December, January, most of those you want that deep cab. I mean, think about it on a beer aspect. You're drinking stouts and darker beers in the winter.
And
Not to say,
lagers.
yeah, not to say that you wouldn't drink a stout in July, but it's not going to be as much. If you look at sales in general, yeah, those lighter beers and white wines are going to sell a lot more. You need something refreshing. You need, especially in Texas. I mean, the idea of it's 105 degrees at 9 o'clock at night, and do you want to drink a cab? Like, it's tough to swallow. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but
Right, right. But
yeah.
that's also when you turn to the gin and tonics.
Well, and you get some more of you get some fancy stuff in there. You
And
start getting
yes,
some
the mint
cocktails.
juleps.
Yeah, and you start doing like some mixed drinks, some palomas and some Moscow mules and different hard teas and stuff like that you can do. There's a hard tea that's out there, not twisted tea. That stuff is gross, but there's an actual hard tea out there that is made with real tea. It's actually gluten-free, vegan, all this crap. And it doesn't have that. It's still got some sugar because it's tea, right? But it doesn't have that fake stuff that some of the other artificial teas have. And I got to tell you, they come out with different stuff: pineapple, strawberry, blackberry, original tea. And that's like 7-8% alcohol. You put some ice in that on a cold day, sipping on that, or on a hot day, sipping on that.
What about the hard lemonades? Are
There's those out there. Those are a lot, man. Look, I get it, but there's so much sugar in those. But you see those seltzers are huge. There's so many seltzers out there. You got local breweries that are doing seltzers like Tups and Martin House and all these guys. So you're doing those seltzers. There's a lot of people that are switching to seltzers. And then now they've got the high noons out there, which are like the seltzers with vodka, like there's a lot of stuff. And you think about that in the spring. You think about hitting the boats and the lakes and hitting the trails and,
and hitting each other?
hitting each other, there's a lot of stuff to do in the spring that I think is pretty cool. Like, a lot of outdoor events that happen, which we all look forward to. I always encourage everybody to look in their area because there's so many cool, fun, free spring things pop up.
And outdoor stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And like neat outdoor stuff to do in parks, on trails, and all during the day. And then in the evening, you got a lot of sports going on, whether it's what's kids soccer or baseball, softball, whatever going on. And a lot of those games are under the lights in the evening, and you go out and get a couple of cold brews and sit and watch a game. It's entertainment, and it's also, after a really hot day, it's a nice way to cool off in the evening, a little breeze and all, and a nice drink.
Yeah, this is one of mine. Like, it's not my favorite time of year by any means, but I love going to, like, if you're gonna catch some sports, now's the time. Like, we're going to FC Dallas in a couple weeks. I mean, there's nothing like that, in the
Right.
evening, at the end of April, before you get those games in July when it's like
in August, right? When it's
yeah,
105.
right. Luckily, I know the Rangers got a new stadium and all that, so it's not outdoors. But there's, man, an evening game, like, I don't know, it's just fun.
Yeah, well, that's what spring and summer is all about, and it's it's time to prepare for it. And if you're looking for things to imbibe, Brandon's the guy to contact, and just say, hey, I need to restock for the spring and summer, and just back the pallet up to the old dually out there in the parking lot, and I'll be on my way home.
Yeah, just load her up.
All right, my man. Catch you again next week, 8 o'clock, next Tuesday morning for Trash Talk. Bye.
Yeah.